How could a mother not be on her own child's patient list 30 years later? That's what I was wondering, until hospital security tried to kick me out. If this story touched your heart, click subscribe, and let me know in the comments which city or country you're listening from. I'm genuinely curious where you're watching from. I'm grateful to everyone who comments. My name is Margaret Hayes. I'm 56 years old and live alone in the garden of a small house in Portland, Oregon. 30 years ago, I raised a boy in that house. His name was Daniel Thomas Hayes. I took him to school every day, bandaged every scrape, slept beside him after every nightmare. That night, the phone rang just before 11 o'clock. The screen showed an unfamiliar number, but something inside me felt uneasy. When I answered, the woman's voice was cold and professional. "Mrs. Hayes, your son Daniel Hayes has been in a serious car accident. We're at Emmanuel Medical Center." The phone slipped from my hand and fell. I don't know how many minutes passed before I came to my senses. I only remember the trembling in my hands and the pressure squeezing my chest. I grabbed the car keys and rushed outside. As I drove through Portland's wet streets, the windshield wipers tried to clear the glass, but I still couldn't see. My eyes were filled with tears. "Please, please be alive," I murmured. When I reached the emergency room entrance of Emmanuel Medical Center, I don't even remember parking the car. I almost fell while running on the slippery ground. When the automatic doors opened, that familiar hospital smell hit my nose: disinfectant, sterile materials, and the sharp scent of fear. I pressed the buzzer 3 times before the nurse at the reception desk looked up. "Daniel Hayes," I said, out of breath. "My son. He had an accident. Where? How?" The nurse slowly began typing on the keyboard. Her fingers moved so slowly across the keys that I wanted to scream. The clock on the wall ticked away. Every second was torture. "Daniel Thomas Hayes?" she asked, without looking up from the screen. Yes, that's him. Where is he?" "In surgery," she said coldly. "But I need to verify your relationship to the patient before I can give you any information. Your name?" "Margaret Hayes. I'm his mother." The nurse looked at the keyboard again. Her eyebrows furrowed. She leaned toward the screen, as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. "Is there a problem?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Your name isn't in the system, ma'am." For a moment, I couldn't grasp the meaning of those words. "What do you mean you're not in the system? I'm her mother." "Your name doesn't appear on the list of next of kin. Only his wife, Amanda Hayes, and an emergency contact named Richard Sullivan are registered here." Amanda, my daughter-in-law, the woman who had been slowly erasing me from every corner of my life since the day they got married 3 years ago. But who was Richard Sullivan? I didn't even know him. "This must be a mistake," I said, my voice rising. "I'm his mother, his real mother. Unfortunately, if your name isn't in the system, I can't let you in. Security protocol." "Security protocol?" My voice was almost a scream. People around us started turning to look. "My son is on the operating table. I raised him for 30 years. The nurse looked behind her and signaled to a security guard. A uniformed, broad-shouldered man slowly approached me. "Ma'am, you need to calm down," the security guard said in a low voice. "You want me to calm down?" My hands were clenched into fists. "My son is in there and they won't let me in." Just then, the automatic doors opened. The person entering was Amanda, her elegant hair perfectly styled, not a single stain on her expensive coat. Behind her came a man in his 30s, wearing a suit. I didn't recognize him. When Amanda saw me, she paused for a moment. Then the corners of her lips turned up slightly, that familiar, condescending smile. "Oh," she said, as if she had just bumped into a familiar face on the street. "Margaret, you came too?" "Did you come too?" She was treating me like a distant relative who had come to my son's funeral. "I'm his mother," I said, emphasizing every word. Yes, we know," Amanda said, turning to the nurse beside me. "Is he inside?" "Yes, Mrs. Hayes. The surgery is still in progress. Dr. Richardson will keep you informed. Please follow me." Amanda and the man beside her started walking behind the nurse. They were going through the doors I couldn't pass through. "Stop!" I shouted. "How can you go in and I can't?" Amanda stopped, turned her head. I will never forget the look on her face at that moment. There was no mercy, no sorrow, only cold triumph in her eyes. Because I'm his wife, Margaret. Legally, I'm his closest relative. And Daniel, well, Daniel updated the patient's family list a few months ago. Your name isn't on it anymore. I felt like the world was slipping away beneath my feet. I forgot to breathe. This can't be. It can, and it is, Amanda said. Now please, we're going through a family crisis and we don't need any drama. Then she turned and went through those doors. The doors closed behind her, automatic cold final. I was left outside. In that waiting room, under the bright fluorescent lights, smelling of disinfectant, all alone. The security guard was still there. Ma'am, you need to leave, he said gently. No, I said, my voice a whisper. No, I can't go. He's my son. If you don't leave, I'll have to remove you by force. My legs wouldn't hold me. I collapsed onto one of the nearby plastic chairs. My hands were shaking. My heart was beating so fast I thought my chest would explode. What would you have done? After raising someone for 30 years, how would you feel if they suddenly told you you're not a patient's relative? I just sat there. I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour. Time had stopped. The sounds around me, phone rings, page calls, constant footsteps, all seemed distant, as if I were in a tunnel. Then I looked at my bag. An old, brown leather bag. Daniel had bought it for me 10 years ago on Mother's Day. I wanted something you could use every day, Mom, he had said. So, you'd always remember me. I opened the bag. Inside was my wallet, my keys, some tissues, and a file. A brown manila folder. I knew what was inside because I had put it there. 6 months ago, on that day when a feeling warned me. I took out the folder. My hands were still shaking, but this time for a different reason. This time with anger. Because I wasn't the quiet, old, innocent Margaret Hayes anymore. This time, I was ready. It all began 3 years ago. When Daniel told me about Amanda, he was so happy. Mom, she's incredible, he said, his eyes sparkling. Beautiful, smart, successful, and she really understands me. Amanda worked at a corporate law firm, Thompson and Associates. She wore expensive suits, always looked perfect, and chose her words carefully. She was very kind when we first met. She brought flowers to my house, shook my hand, smiled. Mrs. Hayes, Daniel has spoken highly of you, she said. It's an honor to meet you. But her eyes weren't smiling. The first month, everything was normal. Daniel was still calling me twice a week. He never missed our Saturday breakfasts. We went to a fancy restaurant on Mother's Day, and Amanda came too. But then, small changes began. Daniel's calls dropped to once a week. I'm really busy, Mom, he'd say. We're going to dinner with Amanda's family. Saturday breakfasts were canceled. Amanda has a yoga class. Then we're having brunch with her friends. When my birthday came, I received a message from Daniel. Happy birthday, Mom. We'll stop by this weekend. A message. After 30 years, a message on my birthday. But I was still patient. Married sons prioritize their wives, right? That's natural. I could see Amanda made him happy, and that was enough for me. Or so I thought. 2 years ago, I was invited to their house for Thanksgiving dinner. Amanda's family was there too. Her mother Patricia, her father Robert, her sister Jennifer. They were a wealthy family, it was obvious. Their clothes, their conversation, their mannerisms. Everything reeked of money and privilege. I mostly stayed quiet throughout the meal. Patricia was talking about corporate law. Robert was discussing his new membership at the golf club. Jennifer was recounting her European vacation. Well, Margaret, Patricia said suddenly, turning to me. Daniel mentioned you're a widow. How long has it been? My husband died 20 years ago, I said quietly. Oh, Patricia raised her eyebrows. And have you been alone ever since? Are you retired? Yes. I worked at the post office. There was a silence at the table. Jennifer and Patricia exchanged a glance, a very brief one, but I saw it. Amanda was adjusting her fork and knife, without looking up from her plate. The post office, Patricia said slowly, as if savoring the word. How? Practical. Daniel looked uncomfortable. Mom had a great job, Patricia. Serving the community is very important. Of course, Patricia said, with a smile. But her smile resembled Amanda's cold, measured, fake. After dinner, I went to help in the kitchen. Amanda and Patricia were standing by the kitchen counter talking in low voices. They didn't notice me. From a very different world, Patricia said. Are you sure this? Don't worry, Mom, said Amanda. Everything is under control. But is there any money from the family? Property? There's a small house, that's all. But it doesn't matter. Daniel is with me. And over time, well, old people get forgetful. When I walked in, they both turned around. Patricia smiled broadly and said, Margaret, you won't be helping with the dishes, will you? You're a guest. But I had heard those words. Old people forget things. That night when I returned home, I couldn't sleep. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling. Amanda's voice echoed in my mind. The following week, I visited Daniel at his house. Amanda wasn't there. My son made me coffee. We talked. We laughed. Everything was the same as before, almost. Mom, Daniel said suddenly, becoming serious. Amanda and I talked. You're getting older, and well, maybe you should sell that house and move somewhere smaller, or closer to us, so we can keep an eye on you. Keep an eye on you? I said. Daniel, I'm perfectly fine. That house is where you grew up. It's the only thing your father left me. I know, but Amanda's right. It's such a big house. All by yourself. It's hard to maintain and... Did Amanda say that? Daniel paused. We decided together, Mom. But I knew. I could hear Amanda's voice through Daniel's words. A year ago, things got even worse. Daniel hadn't told me when he changed his cell phone number. I only found out the new number a week later. I'm sorry, Mom, he said. I was so busy I forgot. But he hadn't forgotten. Amanda was checking his phone. I knew this because one day when I called Daniel, Amanda answered. Margaret, Daniel isn't available, she said coldly. He'll call you back later. He's my son, I said. Can I have the phone? He doesn't like to touch his phone when he's in the shower. We have to respect his boundaries. Boundaries. Everything was boundaries, rules, protocols in Amanda's world. 6 months ago, the event that changed everything happened. I saw Daniel at the bank, at the Wells Fargo branch in downtown Portland. I was there to pay a bill. He was talking to an advisor and Amanda was with him. I went over to them. Daniel, my son. Both of them turned around. A brief look of concern flashed across Daniel's face. Amanda just gave me a cold stare. Mom, what are you doing here? I was paying a bill. What are you doing here? Something private, Amanda said quickly. Family planning. Family planning. Wasn't I family? But I didn't argue. I smiled, said goodbye, and left. But something inside me had broken that day. Because I saw them at the table next to Daniel's, the documents, the signatures, the lawyer's business card. And that night, for the first time, I suspected my own son. Have you ever felt someone you loved slowly drifting away from you? That pain, that shock, that disbelief. It's indescribable, isn't it? The next day, I went to a lawyer. Her name was Linda Morrison, a family law specialist in Portland with a small office, someone who helped ordinary people. Linda listened to me. I told her everything: Amanda's behavior, Daniel's change, the scene at the bank. Mrs. Hayes, Linda said seriously, my advice to you is this. Gather all your documents. Birth certificate, marriage certificate if Daniel's father is deceased, his death certificate, wills, property deeds, everything. And get a POA, power of attorney, drawn up. If something ever happens, you can protect your rights. But why would I need such things? I asked. He's my son. Linda smiled gently. Because sometimes the people we love the most are influenced by others, and protecting the rights of elderly parents is very important, especially if they are a legally married couple. I listened to her advice. It took 3 weeks, but I gathered everything. Daniel's birth certificate, my husband's death certificate, the deed to my house, my will, my POA documents, everything. I put it all in that brown manila folder. And I carried it in my bag every day. A feeling told me I would need it one day. Until today, I didn't realize how right that feeling was. Now, sitting on that plastic chair, the folder was in my hand. Every document inside was a shield, a weapon, proof. The security guard was still there, a few meters away from me. "Ma'am, I'm telling you for the last time, you have to leave." I looked at him. Then I looked at the nurse. Then I looked at those closed doors. The doors on the other side of Daniel. "No," I said firmly. I stood up. My legs were steadier now. "I'm not leaving, and you can't make me leave." I opened the file and pulled out the first document, Daniel's birth certificate. "Look at this," I said, walking toward the nurse. "Mother, Margaret Ann Hayes. See, I'm his mother, his biological mother, his legal mother, his mother in every sense." The nurse looked at the document, then at me. She opened her mouth, then closed it. "And this?" I said, pulling out another document. "Power of attorney, healthcare proxy. If Daniel can't make a decision, that decision is mine, not his wife's, mine." A security guard approached. "Ma'am, calm down." "I am very calm," I said, turning to him. My voice was as cold as ice. "And now I'm going inside, because the person lying on the operating table is the child I carried in my womb for 9 months 30 years ago, the child I held in my arms after a 20-hour labor, the child I applauded when he took his first steps, the child I cried for on his first day of school, my son. And you cannot keep me away from him." There was silence. Everyone in the waiting room was looking at us. The nurse looked at the documents again. Then she picked up the phone and called someone. "Dr. Richardson, there's a situation here." 5 minutes later, a woman in a white coat arrived. She was in her 40s, with short hair and a serious expression. "Mrs. Hayes," she said, "I'm Dr. Linda Richardson. Can I speak with you?" I followed her. We entered a small consultation room. Dr. Richardson looked at the documents, examining them one by one. "These seem legal," she said finally. "But what I don't understand, why aren't you on the patient's next of kin list?" "Because my daughter-in-law removed me," I said sharply. "And my son. My son allowed it." Dr. Richardson nodded. "I understand. Unfortunately, we see these kinds of situations often. But if you have a healthcare proxy, you have legal rights. You can go in." I stood up. My hands were shaking now, but not from fear this time. "But Mrs. Hayes," Dr. Richardson said, "there's something you need to know. Daniel's condition is serious. Multiple trauma, internal bleeding, head injury. Even if the surgery is successful, recovery could be long and difficult, and decisions may need to be made." "What kind of decisions?" "Life support, advanced treatments, possible complications. If you are the legal guardian and his spouse has different opinions, it could go to court." I understood what that meant. Amanda would fight, but I was ready. "Can I go in?" I asked. Dr. Richardson nodded. "Yes, follow me." We passed through those doors, doors that could no longer stop me. The corridors were long and cold. We passed the operating room signs. Finally, we arrived at a small waiting room. Amanda was sitting inside. Beside her was that man in the suit, Richard Sullivan, as far as I could tell. Both of them looked up at me. The expression on Amanda's face, shock, anger, fear, I will never forget. "You! What are you doing here?" she said, jumping to her feet. I smiled. A real, deep, triumphant smile. "I came to see my son," I said calmly, "because I am his mother, his real mother, and nothing, not you, not your tricks, not your plans, can change that." Amanda's face turned bright red. This is impossible. You're not a family member, but I am his legal guardian," I said, opening my file. "See, it's all here. Court approved, notarized, legally binding. If Daniel can't make a decision, that decision is mine." Richard Sullivan stood up. "I'm Mr. Hayes's lawyer," he said in a formal tone. "I need to review these documents." "Of course," I said, handing him the documents. "Take them, review them, because every word, every signature, every seal is genuine." Amanda's hands were clenched into fists. There was anger in her eyes. but also something else. Fear. Because she was losing control, and control was everything to her. Richard Sullivan examined the documents one by one. He carefully read each page, taking notes. Amanda paced beside him, occasionally glancing at him and frowning. I sat there, waiting calmly. My hands rested on my knees, no longer trembling, but instead feeling a strange calmness. Have you ever felt ready for battle at the most important moment of your life? When that moment comes, it's not fear that comes, but a strange peace, because there is nothing left to hide. 15 minutes later, Richard Sullivan placed the documents on the table and took a deep breath. "Mrs. Hayes," he said slowly, "these documents appear to be legal. The power of attorney document is particularly comprehensive. Health decisions, financial transactions, legal representation, it all covers it." Amanda jumped in. "But that's impossible. Daniel never mentioned anything like this to me." "Because I had these documents prepared before Daniel gave his consent," I said calmly. 20 years ago, after my husband died, Daniel was only 10 years old. I did what any responsible parent would do. I secured my child's future." Richard Sullivan shook his head. "If these documents were prepared before Daniel came of age, they may have automatically lost their validity." "No," I said, pulling out another document. "When Daniel turned 18, I had these documents renewed. Look, the date is here. June 2014. Daniel had just turned 18. Before he started college, I asked him, 'If anything happens, do you want me to make the decisions?' He said, 'Of course, Mom. I trust you.' He signed it. Of his own free will." There was silence. Amanda's face had turned ashen. This isn't fair," Amanda said, her voice trembling. "I'm his wife, his legal spouse." "Yes," I said, turning to her. "You are his wife. For 3 years. I am his mother for 30 years. Who do you think has more rights?" Amanda's eyes filled with tears, but I didn't know if they were real or part of a calculated game. "You're trying to separate us," she whispered. "What will Daniel think when he wakes up and finds out?" "Perhaps," I said sharply, "if Daniel wakes up, he should explain why he removed his mother from the list of next of kin. Perhaps that explanation should have come from you, Amanda." Dr. Richardson opened the door. His face bore a tired but hopeful expression. "The surgery is over," he said. "Daniel is alive. He's in critical condition, but stable. He's being taken to intensive care." Amanda jumped to her feet. "Can I see him?" Dr. Richardson looked at me, then at Amanda. "Both of you can see him, but one at a time, and only for 5 minutes." "I'll go first," Amanda said quickly. "No," I said, standing up. "I'll go first, because he's my son, and I was there when he took his first breath 30 years ago. I'll be there now, too." Amanda was about to protest, but Dr. Richardson raised his hand. "Mrs. Margaret Hayes, as the legal guardian, you have priority," the doctor said. "Please follow me." The corridors of the intensive care unit were even colder. The beeps of the monitors, the hum of the ventilators, the hurried footsteps of the nurses. It was all a cacophony. We stopped in front of room 7. Dr. Richardson turned to me. "Mrs. Hayes, brace yourself. Daniel has bandages on his head. His face is swollen. There are tubes in his chest, IVs in his arms, monitors. The sight may be frightening." "Will he be okay?" I asked. My voice cracked. "It's too early to say. The first 48 hours are critical. But he's young and strong. He has a chance." I nodded and went inside. And I saw my son. Seeing your own child in a hospital bed, hooked up to tubes, on life support. No parent should ever have to go through that. But unfortunately, thousands do. How would you cope? Daniel's face was so swollen it was unrecognizable. The white bandages on his head, the intubation tube in his mouth, the patches on his chest, everything felt so unreal. It was like I was in a nightmare. I went to the edge of the bed. I held his hand cold, still, but alive. I could feel his pulse. "Daniel," I whispered. "My son, I'm here. Your mother is here." The monitors beeped. Heartbeat. Regular but weak. Oxygen saturation, Low. Blood pressure. Unstable. You have to keep fighting, I said, tears streaming down my cheeks. Please, because I have so much to tell you. And you have to listen to me. 5 minutes passed very quickly. The nurse came and gently ushered me out. When I turned into the corridor, Amanda was waiting. There were no tears on her face now, only a cold determination. It's my turn now, she said, as she passed by me. I watched her. She entered the room and closed the door. I could see inside through the glass window. Amanda sat down next to Daniel, took his hand, moved her lips. She was saying something to him, but there was no real sadness on her face. On the contrary, she seemed to be calculating. Richard Sullivan came over to me. Mrs. Hayes, he said quietly, we need to talk. Honestly. I'm listening. Amanda is prepared to go to court with you. If you dispute Daniel's healthcare decisions, your guardianship could be challenged in court. It would be a long, exhausting, expensive process. And Daniel, with all that stress. Are you threatening me? No, Richard said quickly. I'm just stating the facts. But there is an alternative. Maybe we can reach an agreement. You share your guardianship with Amanda, decisions are made together, everyone is happy. I looked at him. Then I laughed a real hearty laugh. Mr. Sullivan, I said, do you think I'm stupid? Now that Amanda can't take custody from me, you're offering a sharing arrangement? No, never. Because I know that woman's plan. And I won't hand Daniel over to her. What plan? Richard asked, furrowing his brows. Ask Amanda, I said. She'll tell you. The next day, I returned to the hospital at 6 a.m. I hadn't slept at all. I'd sat at home, thinking, making plans, and I'd made a decision. I would expose Amanda's true face. When I arrived at the intensive care unit, I saw Amanda at the nurse's station. Her hair was disheveled, the skin under her eyes was dark, as if she had spent the entire night there. Margaret, she said when she saw me. Her voice was tired. I was here all night. I talked to Daniel. I held his hand. I waited. Good, I said. That's what a husband and wife should do. Amanda looked at me suspiciously. You won't object? No, I said calmly. You're his wife. You should be with him. I'll be there as his mother. We can be together, can't we? Amanda nodded slowly. Yes, I suppose so. But there was still doubt in her eyes, because she couldn't understand my game. Dr. Richardson arrived. Daniel's condition is showing slight improvement, he said. He's still in a coma, but there's brain activity. It's encouraging. When will he wake up? Amanda asked. We don't know. It could take days, weeks, maybe months. Or he might never wake up. It's too early to say. For a moment, just a moment, an expression flashed across Amanda's face. Disappointment? Worry? Or relief? I understand, Amanda said slowly. So what should we do now? Wait, said Dr. Richardson, and talk to him. Comatose patients can sometimes hear voices. Familiar voices can help with recovery. Amanda nodded. I'll come every day. I'll talk to him every day. Me too, I said, because I'm part of his family too. Dr. Richardson looked at us and smiled. Good. Family support is very important. But after the doctor left, Amanda turned to me. Why are you acting like this? She asked suspiciously. What do you mean? So kind, so understanding. Yesterday you were almost attacking me. Now I've come to my senses, I said calmly. And I realize that fighting doesn't help Daniel. He needs us to love him. Both of us. Amanda's eyes narrowed. She didn't believe me. But she had no proof. All right, she finally said. So a truce? Ceasefire, I said, extending my hand. Amanda looked at my hand, then squeezed it. Her hand was cold, really, really cold. But I hadn't given up. I'd just changed my strategy. That afternoon, I left the hospital and went straight to Daniel's house. I still had the key to their house 2 years ago. Daniel had said it was for emergencies. Amanda would be at work. She was always in the office in the afternoons. I went inside. Everything was immaculate and orderly Amanda style. Beige couches, modern art, polished wood floors. But there was no sign of Daniel. Where were his favorite books? His old guitar? His photo albums? I went upstairs. I looked in the bedrooms. The master bedroom was luxurious and cold. The guest room was empty. Then I came to the third room, what Daniel called his office. I was surprised when I opened the door, because this room was different. Daniel's childhood photos on the walls, his old books on the shelf, his guitar in the corner, everything was here. It was as if Daniel could be himself in this room. There was a laptop on the desk. It was closed. I thought about opening it, but I knew it would be password protected. Then I looked at the drawers. The first drawer contained pens, paper, and normal office supplies. The second drawer contained documents, invoices, receipts, bank statements. The third drawer was locked. Haven't you ever wondered what's inside a locked drawer when you see one? I managed to open the lock using an old coin, a trick Daniel taught me when he was 10. "Mom, look, when you do this, every lock opens," he said proudly. The drawer opened. Inside was a file, a thick, black file. I opened it, and I froze. The first page was a document, request for revocation of power of attorney, Daniel Thomas Hayes. The date was 6 months prior. It was still unsigned, just a draft. But there was a note at the bottom, draft prepared by Amanda. Not yet the right time to show Daniel. R.S. R.S. Richard Sullivan, Amanda's lawyer. The second document was worse. Mental competency assessment, Margaret Hayes. It was a form, unfilled. But there was another note at the top, necessary to question the elderly mother's decision-making ability. If we get a doctor's report, we can revoke her power of attorney in court. My hands started shaking. My breath caught in my throat. The third document, draft property transfer agreement, a draft contract prepared for Daniel to transfer my house, into Amanda's name. Fourth document, nursing home recommendations, Portland area. Brochures for 5 different nursing homes. At the bottom, a note in Amanda's handwriting, for Margaret, after the sale. At the very bottom of the file was a printed email. From Amanda Hayes to Richard Sullivan. Date, the 8th of March 2025. Subject, the Margaret issue. Richard, Daniel is still undecided. He's emotional about revoking his mother's power of attorney. He keeps saying, "But she's my mother." He doesn't understand that this is purely a legal matter. I'm moving forward with our plan. First, we need to get the house. It's his only valuable asset. Then, we'll find a place for the old woman. Daniel will be upset at first, but he'll get used to it over time. You just keep the documents ready. I'll convince Daniel. And if Daniel objects, well, you know how I said, accidents can happen at any moment. I'll keep you informed. A. The letter slipped from my hand. I sat down on the floor. My chest was pounding, my head was spinning. An accident could happen at any moment. Daniel's accident. Was it really an accident? I took out my phone. With trembling hands, I photographed all the documents. Every page, every note, that email, everything. Then I put the file back where it was, closed the drawer, locked the door, and left. I sat in my car and cried. Laughter or tears, I didn't know. Maybe both. Because I finally understood. Amanda wasn't just separating Daniel from me. She was planning to destroy Daniel. And me along with him. The next morning, I met with a detective. His name was Tom Bradley, a retired police detective who now handled private investigations. Linda Morrison had recommended him. Tom looked at the documents, read the email. His brows were furrowed. "Mrs. Hayes," he said seriously, "these documents indicate serious allegations, but they don't prove anything. The email could be real or fake. The phrase, 'an accident could happen at any moment,' could be metaphorical." "What if it's not really an accident?" I said. "What if Amanda somehow—" "Then a police investigation is necessary," Tom said. "But evidence is needed. Suspicion alone isn't enough. What should I do? Tom thought. First, hide these documents somewhere. Get copies notarized. Put them in a safe deposit box. Second, give them to your lawyer Linda. Let her start the legal process. Third, try to get Amanda to talk. Use a recording device. A recording device? Oregon is a state that allows one-party recording, said Tom. In a conversation, one party can record without the other's permission. Talk to Amanda. Turn on the device. Get her to talk about her plan. If she confesses, we'll have evidence. Is that ethical? Tom looked at me. Ethical? Mrs. Hayes, your son is in a coma. Someone is trying to take his life. And you're talking about ethics? No. This is the time to protect him, to defend your rights. He was right, absolutely right. When I went to the hospital that day, Amanda was with me. We entered Daniel's room. We both watched him breathing, his heart beating, alive but unresponsive. Daniel, Amanda said softly, I know you can hear me. Please wake up. You need me. Not your mother. Me. Anger was rising inside me, but I suppressed it. I had to stay calm. Amanda, I said softly, can we talk? Outside. Amanda looked at me suspiciously. Why? Because we need to talk. About Daniel. Amanda hesitated, then nodded. We stepped into the hallway. We sat down in a small waiting area. No one else was there, just us. I had a recording device in my pocket, the small digital device Tom had given me. It was in my bag, recording. Amanda, I said, I know your plan. Amanda froze. What? I found the file in Daniel's office. I saw the emails. I know everything. Amanda's face paled. Then she composed herself. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie, I said harshly. You were trying to revoke my power of attorney. Take my house. Send me to a nursing home. I saw it all. There was silence. Amanda's hands were trembling. And, I said, I saw something else. You wrote, an accident could happen at any moment. Daniel's accident. Was it really an accident, Amanda? Amanda lifted her head. There was no fear in her eyes now, only a cold calculation. Margaret, she said slowly, you're misunderstanding everything. Then, explain. Tell me the true version. Amanda took a deep breath. Daniel and I, we had an agreement. You're getting old. You can't make decisions. The house is too big for you. We wanted to help you. Just that. By selling my house without my consent? No, Amanda said quickly. Of course with your consent. But you're stubborn. You weren't listening. That's why we were trying to go through legal channels. And an accident could happen at any moment line? Amanda paused. That was a metaphor for old people. You could fall, get hurt. That's what I meant by an accident. Not Daniel's accident? Of course not, Amanda said, her voice rising. Daniel's accident has nothing to do with me. That's absurd. Is that so? I said, leaning toward her. Where were you the night of the accident, Amanda? Amanda's face went pale. I was at home. I was sleeping. Alone? Yes. Do you have any proof? Amanda jumped to her feet. Are you interrogating me? Who do you think you are? I'm Daniel's mother, I said, standing up. And I'm going to find out what happened to my son, if you had anything to do with it. No, Amanda shouted. I'm not to blame. Daniel went out that night, drank, drove drunk, and crashed. I had nothing to do with it. Daniel doesn't drink, I said quietly. He never does. Not in 10 years. You know that. His father was an alcoholic. Daniel never touched it. Amanda froze. But if you look at the accident report, I continued, Daniel had a high level of alcohol in his blood. Strange, isn't it? How does a man who never drinks get drunk? Amanda's lips trembled. I don't know. What if someone forced him to drink, or spiked his drink, and then put him in the car? Stop! Amanda shouted, Her face was flushed, her eyes were teary. You're trying to make me look like a murderer. I love him. I love Daniel. Really? I said coldly. Or do you love his money, his status, his future? Amanda looked at me. Then she did something I hadn't expected. She laughed. A hollow, bitter laugh. Do you want to know the truth, Margaret? She said. Yes, I love Daniel. But I also want security, stability, and you're just an obstacle. An old, unhappy, lonely obstacle. Daniel still cares about you, worries about you, spends money on you, and I'm sick of it. So you planned everything? Yes, said Amanda. I planned it. Getting rid of you. Binding Daniel completely to me. Taking the house. I planned it all. And I was going to succeed. Until that damn accident. She paused. She suddenly realized what she had said. So the accident ruined your plans? I asked slowly. What I mean is, what if the accident was part of the plan? I said. And something went wrong? Amanda took a step back. No, that's not what I meant. But it was too late, because I had recorded everything. I pulled the recording device out of my pocket. The red light was on. Amanda's face fell when she saw the device. Were you recording me? Yes, I said calmly. And now this recording is going to the police. It's going to my lawyer. And if Daniel wakes up, I'll show it to him too. Amanda lunged forward, trying to grab the device, but I was quick. I stepped back. Give it back! Amanda shouted. Her eyes were wild. No, I said. This is my insurance. And Daniel's justice. Amanda stumbled. Then she started crying, this time for real. Please, she begged. Please don't do this. I just made some stupid mistakes. I didn't kill anyone. I swear. But did you try to kill someone? I asked. Amanda didn't answer. She just cried. And I had my answer. 2 days later, the police reopened the investigation into Daniel's accident. I gave them the records. I showed them the documents. Detective Tom also testified. The investigation revealed the following information. 1. The alcohol found in Daniel's blood came from a drink he had 2 hours before the incident, Amanda's special smoothie. Neighbors testified that Daniel had drunk it before leaving the house that night. 2. Daniel's car brakes were faulty. Someone had punctured the brake hose. Intentional sabotage. 3. Amanda's claim that she was asleep at home that night was a lie. A witness said they saw her in another car near the scene of the accident at midnight. 4. Richard Sullivan, Amanda's lawyer, admitted in his statement that Amanda had told him about Daniel possibly being in an accident 3 days before the accident. Amanda Hayes was arrested on charges of attempted murder. I was with Daniel in the hospital when I received the news of her arrest. I was holding his hand, reading to him an old children's book, the story I used to read to him every night when he was 5. And the little rabbit finally found his home. I finished. In his mother's arms. Safe. Loved. I squeezed his hand. Daniel, I said softly, I know you can hear me. I know you're out there somewhere. Scared. Lost. But I'm here. I've always been here. And I want you to know the truth about you. I took a deep breath. Amanda didn't love you, son. She tried to kill you. For my money, for my house, to get rid of you. But the real reason was because she wanted to separate me from you. Because you were still attached to me. You still loved your mother. And she couldn't stand that. My tears fell onto his hand. And I was angry with you too, you know, for deleting me from the patient's family list, for forgetting me. But now I understand. Amanda manipulated you. She pushed you away from me. And you just wanted to be happy. You wanted to start a family. There's no blame in that. The monitors beeped regular, monotonous. But now, I said, she's gone. She's gone. She's going to prison. And you have to come back. You have to come back to me. Because I've forgiven you. Everything. And I love you. I still love you. I always will. I kissed her forehead, and then a miracle happened. Daniel's fingers moved. A very small movement, a twitch. But it was real. Daniel? I whispered, jumping to my feet. Daniel, can you hear me? His fingers moved again, this time a little more. Then his eyelids fluttered. Doctor! I shouted. Doctor, wake up! Wake up! Dr. Richardson and 2 nurses rushed in. They checked the monitors. They examined Daniel. His level of consciousness is rising, Dr. Richardson said excitedly. Brain activity is increasing. My God, he's waking up. Is there a way to describe seeing someone you love win their battle with a coma? That moment, that pure, unadulterated moment of joy, perhaps one of the most beautiful moments in life. It took hours. Slowly, Daniel was freed from the breathing tube. He opened his eyes, blurry, confused, but open. He looked around. He saw me. His lips moved. No sound came at first, then a whisper. Mom? I cried. I cried with laughter. I held his hand, stroked his face. Yes, my son. I'm here. Your mother is here. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. The accident. Amanda. Shh, I said. Don't talk now. Rest. Everything will be okay, I promise. Daniel nodded, a weak but meaningful gesture. Then he fell asleep again. But this time it was healing sleep, not a coma. 3 weeks later, Daniel was discharged from the hospital. He was still weak. His wounds were healing. He needed physical therapy. But he was alive and conscious. We came home to my home, the house where he grew up. I prepared his childhood room. The old posters, books, guitar, they were all there. When Daniel walked in, his eyes filled with tears. You haven't changed a thing, he said. No, I said, because it was always your home, and it always will be. That night, after dinner, we sat in the living room. Daniel told me everything. When I met Amanda, he said, she was perfect. Beautiful, successful, confident. And I was just an ordinary guy. I tried to impress her. I tried to be the person she wanted me to be. And what did she want from you? For you to cut ties with my family, Daniel said, lowering his head. She kept saying, your mother is too controlling. She won't leave us alone. And I listened because I loved her. I cut back on calls. I limited visits. I changed the hospital visitor list. Why? I asked quietly. Because Amanda said, if you really love me, you should prioritize me, not your mother. And I believed her like a fool. Tears trickled down her cheek. But I realized something, he said. The further I got from you, the more miserable I became. The marriage wasn't real. It was cold. Amanda didn't love me. She wanted to control me. Why didn't you leave? Because I was afraid, Daniel said. It's a stupid reason, but when marriages fail, men always get blamed, right? And I didn't want to disappoint you. I hugged him, tightly. Daniel, I said, you could never have disappointed me. All I ever wanted was for you to be happy, and if you were going to be happy with Amanda, I would have supported you. But she tried to kill you. I will never forgive her for that. Me neither, Daniel said. I'll tell everything in court, everything. Amanda's trial lasted 6 months. Attempted murder, fraud, elder abuse scheme, all the charges. On the day of the trial, Daniel and I sat side by side. When Amanda was brought into the courtroom, she didn't even look at us. She kept her eyes fixed on the floor. The prosecutor presented the evidence, records, documents, witness statements. Every detail of Amanda's plan was laid bare. Mrs. Amanda Hayes, said the prosecutor, didn't just plan to kill her husband. She also planned to disinherit her mother-in-law, send her to a nursing home, take everything she owned. This isn't just attempted murder. This is a calculated, cold-blooded plan. Amanda's lawyer, not Richard Sullivan, but a new lawyer she hired after her arrest, tried to defend her. My client made a mistake, he said, but she didn't attempt murder. It was just a moment of weakness. She panicked. Someone who panicked, said the prosecutor, doesn't sabotage car brakes, doesn't put drugs in a drink, and doesn't send an email saying it could be an accident. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Verdict: guilty. Amanda Hayes was sentenced to 25 years in prison. When the verdict was read, Amanda collapsed. She cried, she begged, "Please, please, I was just stupid. I didn't kill anyone." But the judge was merciless. "Mrs. Hayes, you didn't just attempt murder. You also betrayed trust, destroyed a family, and tried to harm an innocent woman. This court is giving you the maximum sentence." As Amanda was led away, she turned to me. There was hatred in her eyes. "This is all your fault," she screamed. "Everything is your fault, you old witch." Daniel stood up. "No," he said firmly. "It's all your fault. You tried to destroy us, but you failed." They took Amanda out of the room, and we never saw her again. A year later, Daniel was still living with me. He had physically recovered, but his psychological wounds ran deeper. He was going to therapy every week, but he was making progress. One day he came to me. "Mom," he said, "I need to tell you something." "I'm listening." "I changed the list of next of kin again. Now it only has your name on it. And I renewed the power of attorney documents. Everything belongs to you. Financial, health, legal, everything." "Daniel," I said, "this isn't necessary." "Yes, it is," he said, holding my hand. "Because you're my mom, my real mom. You protected me, loved me, forgave me for 30 years, and I don't deserve you." "Every mother deserves her child," I said, smiling. "And every child deserves their mother." Daniel hugged me. A long, tight embrace. "I love you, Mom," he whispered. "I love you too, son." A few months later, Daniel met a new girl. Her name was Sarah, a warm, kind, gentle teacher. She introduced me to her on the first day. "Mrs. Hayes," Sarah said with a smile, "Daniel has spoken so highly of you. It's an honor to meet you." And this time, that smile was genuine. Sarah came to our house, ate dinner with me, chatted. She brought me flowers not out of obligation, but because she wanted to. She asked questions about Daniel's childhood because she genuinely cared. One day, Sarah said to me, "Mrs. Hayes, Daniel told me what he went through in his previous marriage. And I want you to know that I will never try to separate you from Daniel. You are his mother. And you are the most important part of the family." I cried, tears of joy. 2 years later, Daniel and Sarah got married. A small, intimate wedding in our garden. White decorations, close friends, family. Daniel gave a speech. "Today," he said, "I'm not just marrying Sarah. I'm also making a promise to my mother." He turned to me. "Mom, I will never forget you. Never. You created me, raised me, protected me, and I will be grateful to you every day. This marriage will be different, because you will always be with us with love, with respect, as family." Applause erupted. Sarah smiled. I cried. After the wedding, Daniel gave me a gift. A small box. When I opened it, there was a key inside. "What's this?" I asked. "The key to our new home," Daniel said. "It's on the street next to your house, so we can see you every day. Breakfast, dinner, weekends, always, because you're part of our family." That moment is indescribable. That's the most beautiful reward in life, being a mother who is loved, respected, and accepted. Now, 7 years later, I have 2 grandchildren, Emma and Jack. Emma is 4, Jack is 2. They play in my garden every day. I read them books every day, play games with them, love them. And sometimes, while they play, Daniel sits beside me. He holds my hand. "Thank you, Mom," he says. "For what?" "For not giving up, for saving me, for showing me what true love is." And I smile, because I know every struggle was worth it. How can a mother not be on her own child's list of close relatives after 30 years? The answer is simple: if someone tries to remove her. But the real question is, how does a mother prove her love? The answer: by never giving up. My story ends here, but there's something I want you to know. This isn't just a story. Thousands of mothers fight these kinds of battles every day. They are separated from their children, manipulated, forgotten, but they don't give up either. Because a mother's love is stronger than anything, stronger than age, distance, or betrayal. And if you are also fighting such a battle, know that you are not alone. Learn your rights, gather your documents, never give up. Because every child deserves their mother, and every mother deserves her child. If this story has affected you, please share your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to know which city or country you're watching from. And if you've had a similar experience, know that you are not alone. Together we are stronger. Thank you for reading. Don't forget to subscribe and share this story with others.